Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching Security Scan. I'm Frank Rausen Pereira. India successfully test-fired the Rudram Anti-Radiation Missile developed by the Defence Research and Development Organization from a Sukhoi-30 fighter aircraft off the East Coast in October. As per the official statement, Rudram is the country's first indigenous anti-radiation missile for Indian Air Force, being developed by DRDO and is integrated on the SU-30 MkI fighter aircraft as the launch platform, having the capability of varying ranges based on launch conditions. The statement added that the missile is a potent weapon for the Indian Air Force for suppression of enemy air defense effectively from large standoff ranges. In this edition of Security Scan, we will analyze the Rudram Anti-Radiation Missile. Joining me on the program today are Lieutenant General Dr. V.K. Saxena, retired, Distinguished Fellow, VIF, Ajay Banerjee, Defence Correspondent of the Tribune, and Air Vice Marshal Manmohan Bahadur, retired, Additional Director General, Centre for Air Power Studies. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of Security Scan. AVM, I'd like to begin the program with you first. Let's first try and understand and analyze, what are anti-radiation missiles?
As the name suggests, the anti-radiation missile is a weapon that hits or is projected towards an emitter, which is radiating. So the anti-radiation missile, as you rightly brought out in the Rudram, fired from a Sukhoi, it has to be given a target. So there has to be an emitter on ground which is radiating, a radar or a radar which is controlling a missile system. So when the seeker in the aircraft, first of all, you must know general area of where the target is. So you have to have electronic order of battle of where the enemy's emitters are situated, and that's a long process that happens during peacetime, where all the emitters are plotted, mapped, and kept in libraries, threat libraries. So it's not only the positions, but also their frequencies and other aspects, because these things are fed into the memory of the attacking weapon. So when the aircraft detects that there is a radiating source, it acquires it, it transfers those coordinates, the general location, to the missile, which identifies it as a threat. And once the missile is launched, it homes on to that emitter. Now the point is, there are various ways and means, there are tactics where in fact the emitter may switch off to put off the source which is directing the missile to come towards it. But then the modern missiles have various methods. They have the inertial navigation. There's some, if you have the access to the GPS, where the general area is known and or where it was transmitting from. So the Rudram, as you rightly brought out, which has been fired from the Sukhoi, is basically it's the missile which homes on to the target. What did we have before the Rudram came in? Well, we had the KH-31, and there are other things which are there, the loiter test systems, the Harpies, the Harps, which are Israeli sourced. So there are various types of anti-radiation missiles.
Right.
The way they are carried, the way they are launched, and the way they approach the target and strike it, of course.
Okay. All right. So, General, let me bring you into the picture now. So, let's talk about the Rudram in particular and try and understand the Rudram's speciality and its unique features.
Talking about Rudram, there are certain technical features which make this missile stand out amongst the contemporary anti-radiation missiles in the world. Now, I will take a few missiles I'll try to compare Rudram with the American AGM-88E, that is first missile which is of 1983 vintage, and thereafter its advanced version came, which is called the Advanced Anti-Radiation Guided Missile, around 2010. Then there is another anti-radiation missile of Brazil called MAR-1. And then there are Russian anti-radiation missiles going by the series of KH-31. Now, to make a sense of where Rudram stands, let me give you a flavor of the technical muscle of these missiles. Let me start with the vintage. Okay, talking of vintage, of course, our missile is brand new, so it is of 2020 vintage, and therefore, when I say vintage, I actually mean technology. I mean where the technology of 2020 is quite different than the technology of 80s and 90s. That is point one. Now, the AGM-88E started in 1983 December, and the advanced anti-radiation guided missile, which the advanced version of AGM-88E came in 2010. MAR-1, which is a Brazilian missile, came in 1988, and the KH-31 series is from 1988 to 2010. So vintage-wise is fine. We stand a chance. Now talk of range. Because of the better technology, because of learning from Shaurya and other missiles, how to get a solid propellant rocket motor, doing a double pulse and getting the range, we are achieving a range of 100 to 250 kilometers based on where the location of the target. If you compare it with 88E, it is 150 kilometers. If you compare it with the Brazilian ARM, it is 60 to 80 kilometers. And of course, the Russians cross 100 kilometers, from 67 to 103 kilometers. So range-wise also, it has got a technical muscle. Talk of the speed. You just now mentioned in your opening remarks, the missile has a speed of 0.6 to 2 Mach. Now, at this point in time, even when the missile, American ARM came out, it came out with 1.84 Mach. It later on improved to 2 Mach in the AARGM missile, which is the advanced version. Of course, the Brazilian missile is much lower, is 1.23. But the Russians have even crossed the 2 Mach barrier. Their missiles are 2.7 to 3.1 Mach, higher than our speed barrier. Now, very important thing is, which the AVM was also hinting about the active seeker. How does the missile get on to home onto the target? Is a method of either having an active seeker or a passive seeker or have a both. Now, take the case of the Brazilian missile. It has only passive seeker. Take the case of the first version of the American missile. It had only active seeker. Whereas in our missile, we not only have the millimetric wave active seeker working in the range of 3 millimeter wavelength, 30 gigahertz frequency, but also a very large wide band passive speaker, which extends the band from the D to J band, which is as much as 1 gigahertz to 20 gigahertz, large frequency band. It is covering a large band. Now, this is a very big advantage of the current missile in terms of guidance system, in terms of the active seeker, in terms of the seeker system. Now, the guidance of this missile is the latest based on INS GPS guidance and satellite communication. Another thing which is worthy of noting in this missile is that, which the AVM also hinted, that if the radar switches off, if the emitter switches off its emission and the signature of the missile target is either in the threat library, that is one, and secondly, it is got updated in the initial lock-on, then the missile will take on with regenerated parameters and parameters which are projected forward in time and can take on the target. This feature is only available in KH-31 series of missile and American missile, which is AARGM ER version, extended range version. So if you talk of vintage, range, speed, seeker, guidance, and the fusing, and also the power control, this missile, because of our latest technology, because we have got a lot of experience in making, we just not did the hypersonic technology demonstration vehicles, we have done Shaurya, we have done SMART, we have done other. So that sort of an experience is getting together and we are getting a missile worth its name.
Right. Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you for putting it into perspective and telling us exactly what the significant features of Rudram are. Taking the discussion forward now, Ajay Banerjee, at a time when we are seeing so much of tension on the border, having a successful test like this, what does it mean?
See, first of all, Frank, you must understand what does this missile do. Its basic role is suppression of enemy air defenses. Now, in today's battlefield, the air defense will play a very, very important role of any country. For example, China has multiple, I'm giving an example of China at the moment, because you spoke about the border tensions. China has multiple air defense systems which can bring down our invading fighter aircrafts, UAVs, and any other aspect which we intend to fly into China, even helicopters. Now, the Rudram kind of missile will attack these air defenses. Suppression of enemy air defenses is the name or the task of this missile. Now, this missile is not alone, as AVM Bahadur explained. There will be multiple factors in this missile in the suppression of enemy air defenses. There will be the HAROPS, there will be other ground-based intelligence, there will be other close weapons, multiple issues in that. Now, why do we need this? Because, as I told you, the battle space has changed drastically in the past 15-20 years. Even Pakistan on the western front has got very good air defense systems. Those have to be brought down if fighter jets have to go and fight a battle inside. If a fighter jet has to go in, it can be picked up by the enemy air defense and be shot down. So we need such backups coming along in what we say a combat patrol, which will one of the fighter jets will be carrying this and hit at the enemy air defenses. Now the air defense could be a radar, could be a air defense battery of say which can launch a missile. It can be anything which radiates or emits a kind of sensor, sensor signal. That is what radiation in this missile means. It is not radiation as we understand in terms of radiation, the nuclear radiation or something. Just to explain to our viewers and listeners that this is about the emission of sensors, the sensor signals which are emitted. To suppress those or to hit at those, this missile picks up those and hits at the target of the enemy. This is the role of this missile. Importance of this will be in the next 15-20 years. Whenever we intend or we go to battle, this will play air defense, suppression of enemy air defenses will play a key role, and how we fight the air battle will be very, very important. As shown briefly during the post-Balakot incident, the air battle, just 30 seconds over Naushera, Abhinandan went in and his plane was shot down. Pakistan tried something, their planes went back. It will be very quick, very fast. So we have to be ready on our toes, but a very good achievement, and I must put it on record that is a very good achievement for our country. Frank?
Absolutely. All right. Since we are here then, AVM Bahadur, how significant are such missiles in aerial warfare? If you can build on the points that were made by Ajay Banerjee and take this discussion forward.
If I can take you back to 1982, to the Bekaa Valley in Israel-Lebanon border. That's where the world came to know what is the importance of suppression of enemy air defenses, where the Israelis, in a period of just 2 hours, knocked off 19 surface-to-air missile batteries. And what they did was, they had the electronic order of battle. They generally knew where the radars were. They generally knew what were their frequencies. In peacetime, they had done that by sending UAVs so that they illuminated the radars. The radar started transmitting and the frequencies were captured and brought back, transmitted back, and they went into the threat library of the missiles. So the Israelis, in a period of 2 hours, knocked down 19 surface-to-air missile batteries, and thereafter in the air warfare that happened, they brought down 82 Syrian MiGs for the loss of zero aircraft, actually nil aircraft. But then we saw that in the Gulf War, 1991, where on the first night of the war, it was to create a corridor. So while the helicopters led, the Apaches led to destroy the radars which were there, but there was a whole lot of air movement to suppress, to destroy by acquiring the missiles, the frequencies, and launching missiles on the radars. So that created a path for the subsequent waves that came with weapons to attack the target. So that is where the anti-radiation missile comes in, and that is what is meant by suppression of enemy air defenses. You can suppress two ways. One is electronically, that is you jam their frequencies so that they cannot acquire you. And the other one is kinetically, which this missile does by destroying those emitters. So this is where the Rudram comes in, where in future, but just remember, if there will be a finite amount of time before this aircraft, before this missile gets certified, there will be a large number of tests that are going to be happened, then it goes into production. So in my opinion, well, I think even if we step on the gas, it will be minimum, 2 to 3 years before we start producing, because there has to be a contract, money has to be available, etc. But once it comes in, this missile would be on fighter aircraft, initially on the Sukhoi. It may come up later on other aircraft. Now,
Right.
it is not so simple that you just take it from one aircraft and put it on the other. There is a lot of testing that happens and it has to be certified. The Air Force has the Aircraft and Systems Testing Establishment, which is meant for this, a software development institute, because the electronics of the missile and the aircraft have to match and they have to be tweaked and tweaked a lot. So there's a lot of testing involved, but it would come up, and this is what will form the advance guard of a strike mission going in to suppress the enemy air defenses through kinetic action by striking those targets.
Absolutely. All right. So, in fact, this is a point that I want to take forward with you, General. You know, since we are talking about timelines, since we're talking about how this is going to be the future of air warfare. So, by when can we expect the missile to be officially inducted, and what is the next course of action, really?
Actually speaking, the AVM has given some sort of a time frame which is very realistic, 2 to 3 years. I want to add 2 more points to that. That when this missile was being developed, not only the DRDL, the ARD, the HEMRL, and the research center Imarat called RCI was involved. Also, the software labs of the IF were fully involved in getting this missile on board. And the initial claims have been that besides the SU-30 MkI, which is the primary test vehicle for this aircraft, this missile will also go on board with few modifications on Mirage 2000. It will go on board on Jaguar. It will also go on board on Tejas Mark II multi-weapon platform called the MWP, which is a big thing. Now everybody is talking about the suppression of the enemy air defense. Let me put that, because more important is the time is to tell the viewers that as an air defense man, I know what the AVM is actually talking about. Now, today's air threat in the 21st century is not it's multi-dimensional, multi-platform, and multi-nodal. There are 4th to 5th generation aircraft, there are cruise missiles, there are lethal attack helicopters, there are ARMs, and so on. Now, to counter all that, the air defense is based on aircrafts, on guns, on missiles, on sea-based platforms. Both shore and sea-based platforms are integrated in ground, air, and sea in a system called the Integrated Air Defense System, IADCS. Now, the binding glue of this system, if you cut the binding glue, they will become individual systems. There are no eyes, no ears. Air defense systems do not fire standalone systems. They have fight in a bounded system. That binding glue is called Air Defense Control and Reporting System, ADCR. What does it do? What is ADCR? It checks out what are the threats in the air first. Which are the threat which is hostile to us? What is the most potent hostile threat to me? Which is the most important weapon, suitable weapon which can take it on? Pass the weapon, pass the threat to the weapon automatically. Thereafter, control the air defense battle in minute to minute. Now, that system is based on 3 verticals. One vertical is radar, other vertical is communication, and third vertical is data transmission systems. Now, radars are early warning, tactical control, fire control, missile guidance, anything which emit radio waves. Communication system can be RF, can be electro-optics, can be satellite communication, and data transmission is which make it happen. Now, anti-radiation missile tries to break this glue. It breaks the radar, that means makes the air defense system blind. It cuts the communication system, makes them deaf. He cannot hear. And once the air defense system becomes dumb and deaf, something like this happens when he is talking about 19 batteries being wiped off in a matter of a few hours. Why? Because air defense weapons do not see, do not hear, do not fire, because the air defense control and reporting system is gone, radars are gone, communication is gone, and command and control system is gone. Those are the 3 verticals on which stands the air defense, sensor, shooters, and battle management control system. It is the BMC2 which this missile hits and creates havoc. And that is where it makes the air defense system deaf, dumb, blind. And once they become blind, it can be taken on one like sitting ducks. This is
Sure.
the importance of this missile.
Absolutely. All right. So, Ajay Banerjee, so what does this mean for India's Make in India program?
Well, a small step, but very significant. Small, I say, because we have done very big work in missiles. In the past 30, 40 years, we have actually done very good pioneering work in missiles. Pioneering, I say, because every country has to make its own missiles. Nobody gives you technology of missile seekers. You have to do it, struggle on your own, fall and stand up on your feet again and restart. This has happened in the past 20, 30 years. It's a big achievement. And it's worth lauding because not just the Agni series, which is much spoken about, the Prithvi series, the Agni series, and missiles like this, or even the BrahMos, they are like very good missiles. So for the Make in India, it is a very important development. We will go forward from here. That is the only way forward. That we'll go ahead. We now have those technologies which we can talk about, the seeker or the guidance seeker, which the AVM and the general have spoken about. These technologies are technologies which are not shared with any country. So naturally, we have built on our own, though friends have helped us in the past. But now I reckon it is most of a Make in India once as the Tejas comes up as a Make in India platform. So we will be having a Make in India platform, firing a Make in India anti-radiation missile at an enemy air defense system. That is how I see it in the next 5 to 7 years from now, because the Tejas Mark II could be flying in 2025, 2027. So I see this being mated with that, and by 2025, 2027, we would have an Indian plane firing an Indian anti-radiation missile at an enemy platform. That's how I see it, Frank.
Okay. Time now to get quick closing comments from all my panelists with the best way forward. I've got limited time, so I'm going to ask my panelists to be brief, starting first with you, AVM. What next for DRDO?
First of all, to make sure that the program goes through in a timely manner. Unfortunately, our track record has not been good. And that's where doubts come in whether we will get the missile in time, with the quality required and in the numbers required. Now remember, DRDO is not the manufacturing agency. The technology gets transferred to a maker, a manufacturer, which is BDL along with BEL and a host of other PSUs plus private industry should come in. And since we are talking of missiles and the private industry, let me add, there is a hesitancy to make our armament in the private sector. I do not know why. Because we can buy from a Raytheon, we can buy from a Thales or whatever, which are all private agencies outside, but manufacturing of armament within India. So to get this going at a timely rate in the required numbers, first testing, the prototype testing should get on, the drawing should get transferred to the manufacturing, and manufacturing must be on time. For the Air Force to, otherwise it will get obsolete very soon. Very soon.
Okay. Points taken. All right, General, best way forward.
2 words only I will speak. First is achieve Atmanirbharta, and that does not restrict itself only to the public sector. Please understand that the private sector has arrived. It's a great time in India today. Last 10 weapon system tested in 5 weeks. Starting with Shaurya, BrahMos, Prithvi, HSDTV, Rudram, Smart, Nirbhay, so many. But at the same time, recognize that Atmanirbharta comes not only in sloganeering, it comes from attitudinal change in mind to understand that the private sector is an equal good, is a equal partner, and also to take it on board. Second, DRDO and the public sector is plagued with. They have islands of success, but they have pools and pools of contamination, pools and pools of stagnation because of time and cost overruns. This disease has to go. And remember, last few word I want to say, जो स्वदेशी है वो अपना है, जो विदेशी है वो सपना है. खड़े हो जाओ अपने 2 पैरों पर, बनो आत्मनिर्भर अपने दमखम पर. This is my message to DRDO public sector, and this is my message to private sector. Thank you.
Absolutely. That's a very, very good message there to everyone. And on that note, Ajay Banerjee, close the show for us with your concluding remarks.
Well, the way is only forward. We cannot look back. We have come a long way, and there has been successes. We have had hurdles, but I think we have across those. The technology we have acquired or which we have developed is now bearing fruit. And the years of research which we have done, the DRDO and other people who have done, they need to be saluted for this effort. And way forward is now build it quickly, as Abhi Bahadur is saying, have a timeline, bring in the private sector and get it quickly. That's all, Frank.
Okay, all right. On that note, then I'll call it a wrap on this edition of Security Scan. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. Well, that's it on this edition of Security Scan. See you again next time.